Okay, so I was accused of putting on my best Meredith voice by dear Mr. Sadler. And I mean, look, in these times, safety is important. We need to let people feel like, you're not going to get shot watching this lovely experience. I mean, that might happen. Like you see what I got on my neck right now. But it's different. Like look at the do rag that Nadir has on right now. Just so you know.
Yeah, y'all be letting that shit touch the back of y'all. Y'all be letting shit touch the back. Y'all be letting that shit touch the back of y'all neck. That shit really goofy as hell. For real.
Welcome to episode 2 of All the Hills. Remember, don't call this a podcast. I will send real killers to your job, your virtual job, your Zoom meeting. They will crash it if you call this a podcast. I don't know what you can call it. Just don't do that.
Yeah.
I refuse to introduce myself, but I will let my co-defendants here do that. And we will start with no, we have to start with. All right, well, fine. I wanted to start with Nadir, but we'll start with Tan Mamba. Can you introduce
What's going
yourself?
on, everyone? I'm Tan Mamba, also known as Tyrone's father.
Mr. Mamba, Mr. Tan Mamba, has UFC articles on what you expect that you can check out. And then to get to the flyest nigga in the world, Nadir, would you like to introduce yourself?
Man, my name is Nadir. Twitter handle Supreme_Nino. Hey, I'm just here to talk my shit. It's not a podcast. I'm just here to talk my shit.
That's right. Doctor?
I'm really just here to take notes for my dissertation if I am a nigga, so speak freely. I'm just here to get information. I'm not here. Oh, but can I ask questions though?
Oh, of course, all the time.
All right, bet. Very good.
And then last but certainly not least, you know what it is, Big Arm. Wait, I think you're on mute.
Whoa.
Okay, I got it.
Nah,
hey, is King in here?
He is not.
Who's the 401 number? Is he in here?
Yes, young Tan Mamba.
Yes, sir.
Oh, turn your camera on, sir. I'm on your ass.
Can't do it.
Don't worry about it. I'm gonna catch you in these streets.
I'm gonna just finish.
We'll get my camera on something that's not going to be publicized.
All right. I'm gonna
finish my intro. I'm the most wholesome black man in America. Writer, podcaster, all that good stuff. Let's get into these hills, man. I'm very interested. We got a volatile assembly of black men. So
yes, we do. So a lot of the energy here stems from our group chat that shall remain nameless, especially because if released, it could get all of us canceled. So it's why Tan Mamba goes by Tan Mamba, because there's just a lot of nasty in there. And so certainly Nadir has been getting off a lot of hills and over time, this is the safe space for the hills. And he was just letting it go. John was letting it go too today. I was like, what happened to John this morning? I don't know if his car got towed, but he was just letting off some wild shit. And I was like, my God, what is happening? But again, if you missed the first episode, this is Of All the Hills, where I tell you about the hills that you're taking, why you shouldn't die on it, why they're stupid, while also giving you hills that probably are wild too, but I'm saying them, so it's right, and that's just what it is. Go back, watch episode 1 where we were killing your girl Big Mala. One hill that I have to say too, so I guess it's supposed to be Kamala, but if the black people say that your name is Kamala, that's what your name is. So I don't know if mom was naming you or what, but it's Kamala. You get a black pronunciation of your name, and that's what it is. But let me just go through some quick hills. Batman's trash, especially the new one, like Robert Pattinson, like trash. The only thing I want to be here for in terms of DC is Static Shock. If you're not talking my nigga Static, I don't want to hear it. Does anybody here have a cape for Batman? That bum ass nigga.
I've never seen Batman slander until Twitter, until like this last year. Like I didn't know people had so much smoke for Batman. Like this is crazy.
I feel like Batman's the most. He's the most overrated superhero when you look deep into like the story of superheroes. You know, he doesn't have that story of like, you know, an amazing power, an amazing uplift from a bad situation. Like Batman was kind of like, he's been having it forever. Like he don't have to be Batman. Like,
thank you, man.
Isn't he just rich?
In the
he
world.
doesn't have to. Yeah, he's rich as shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? I said Bruce Wayne. Yeah, Superman, at least, you know what I'm saying? He was trying to get a job. Like, he was really working hard. You know what I'm saying? Spider-Man was a high school kid. Like, these are stories, like, people need uplifting from, like, to become something. He was already important. You know, he's just kind of looking for, like...
I'm coming from a very ignorant point of view here. What's the difference, then, between him and Iron Man? Because isn't Iron Man just rich, too?
But we like Iron Man more. He got swag and he gets the bitches. Like,
see, and that's the thing.
Yeah,
like if you remove the whole story from Batman, like, oh, he was fortunate already. Like, I feel like the character is still cool. Like the car and all the gadgets, and like he Bane was giving him smoke, and then he pulled up and he got Bane out of here. Like I feel like that's still worth note. You know, Batman,
Hey, right.
Superman, that movie wasn't that great. But Bane got worked, so I don't know. I got to give him credit for Bane and Joker.
Can we go on record and say
Spoiler
that?
why you let
Can we
Joker
go on
come
record
in
and say
and steal your movie?
Dark Knight is better than the one with Bane. Let me just put that out there. I just want to make sure that we're all clear on that. The
Dark
one with
Knight,
the Joker is better than the one with Bane.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay.
And like, you know, it happens, man. Like sometimes a feature jumps on your song and does a better job than you. Like it happens. Joker stole the show, but I feel like Batman was still cool. At the end of the day, we still got him winning in the end. So, you know, I don't know, man. This Batman slander is crazy to me.
So the beautiful thing about this is you have no idea what is coming next, what I've written down. We did not talk about that in pre-production. But that was a perfect segue into music and features. Mystikal does not have a whack feature. Does it?
You know, Mystikal also doesn't have a strong 3 songs by himself.
Hey, listen, some people are just made to come off the bench and give you buckets. And that's what Mystikal has done. Ashanti. Ashanti, the bucket getter off the bench.
Ashanti comes off the bench and kills a track. You know what I'm saying? You forget that it's a feature and it's Ashanti's feature. It's really like, dang, that's not her song? Nope. Featured.
I can't think of any Mystikal features that I've strongly disliked, so that's not a bad hill to die on. But that is a good point, Nadir. Like, and this might be my age or my ignorance, but I can't think of any like Mystikal songs where it's like he really carried, and you know, it's like that's a necessity. And this is just me right now, so I might watch this video back and be like, damn, I'm bugging. Like, but
yeah, I mean, he had some hits, but I mean, it wasn't. But I feel like that was his role in that camp. Also, I was watching, I think it was the first episode of the Master P thing on BT. I didn't realize how bad Silk the Shocker was. Like, I think I knew this growing up, but then when they were talking about how, like, he just wasn't trying to be a rapper, Master P was just trying to get him off the street, I listened to a song, and that's why I wrote this down, because it was, like, Silk featuring Mystikal. Yeah, Silk and Mystikal. And if it wasn't for Mystikal coming in and saving the fucking day, like, whatever you think Blueface is, Silk was 20 times worse. And mind you, Blueface just had a record that, like, he was on beat for. Like, I don't know what's happening in 2020.
Just because he's rapping on beat doesn't make the song good. Like,
It kind of does, though, when it's him.
But I'm gonna be honest with you though. I can't allow that blueface slander because it's like I got like 6 songs on my playlist. You know, when they come on, I don't always skip them.
Is that the bar now? I don't always skip it.
Yeah, you know, sometimes you just don't want to hear that song, but you like the song, you just don't want to hear it. But you know what I'm saying? Like some songs you be like, damn, why is this on here? Like I skip it every time. I don't always skip them Blueface songs.
I will say, Tyrone, I just did a quick search of Mystikal's discography. He has a song. He has a song with Mac Main and Gutta Gutta, which for me, those gotta be whack. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, I'm
those
gonna say
stink.
what's about to happen from that.
I bet he saved the song. Like the song might be whack, but like he came through and
You got to put that as the intro music. It's got to be the intro music.
You have to.
Look, fucking 2 for 2 on the transition. Okay, so the whole idea of All the Hills is just me just saying I'm gonna do what I want. Like I don't know when the next one's gonna drop. I want to be able to play whatever I want to play, which is a hill of mine. If I either 1, spent money on the song, or 2, went through the arduous process of combing LimeWire to find the perfect version of a song, it's mine. Like I should be able to play it, whether it's YouTube, wherever. I could play the whole song. Like I did real work here. Like you don't understand the toughness of LimeWire. And
we need King Solomon on this.
These songs. Listen. I mean, they got to take that up with LimeWire. Like, it's mine now. I downloaded the torrent. I could have got a virus. Like, I went through real pressure to get this song.
I risked it.
You earned it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's mine. I'm playing it, YouTube. Like, I was amazed that they let the other thing go because, like, it's Dwa and Marcus and Jay's stuff, but it's the exact, like, beat and even some of the, like, I guess, vocals. From
You're snitching on yourself right now. Why are you snitching on yourself?
Let them find it. Yo, so when I was 18 and, like, trying my hand at this little rapping thing, I took this, like, what I thought was, like, a low-ass beat in terms of, like, no one's going to know this or anything like that, and I put it up on YouTube. And I never had any issue with anything else that I had done because I was just taking, you know, beats and of, like, actual songs that people knew and just rapping over.
Shout out to Young Riviere.
But they fucking clipped my shit. They're like, and I'm like, yo. So my hill, and I didn't even have this written down. So my song, Raging Currents, uses the Black Milk and Danny Brown song. Wait, no. The song is called Black Milk.
Give us 10 bars. Give us 10 bars right now.
But my shit's better than theirs, and that's why they took it down, because they were fucking hating. Bum ass niggas. I'm still mad about that. Like,
he's gonna give us some conscious rap.
Actually, you know what, Gus?
Give us some Logic.
I might have Gus. Wow, Logic you give me? What do y'all think about Logic?
I think Logic is he's a more serious Mac Miller, you know, and that's his ceiling to me.
I think he's gonna get more respect now that he's allegedly done, but he's not really my flavor per se.
Nah, not at all.
Wait, you said he's a more, I mean, yo, this is for Hills, but I don't know if that's a safe fucking Hill.
Yeah,
you said
he's a more serious Mac Miller. Like the recognition Mac Miller gets.
Infinitely better than fucking Logic.
Are we saying that mainly because he's dead? I'm just asking.
I'm being
at least for me.
Mamba, Montana, whatever.
No. I'm talking to Ty.
Because
I'm on your side here.
Do that, bro. That's what I'm saying. I hate when people do that, bro. Like, I'll be honest with you. And this is one that people really get on to me about, but I got to be honest about it. I never heard a Nipsey Hussle song before, like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, no.
Oh, yikes. You just lost me.
And I'm just saying, like, I can't rank him. I can't put him where other people put him, like, musically. Like, I felt bad for his death for Lauren London. You know what I'm saying? I know more about their relationship than I do his music. I don't never listen to that nigga before.
No, and that's okay. The problem is, and I'm not saying you do this, but people will try to be like, Nipsey's not a legend and try to slander him. without having heard his stuff.
I don't want to rank him.
Good, cool.
You know what I'm saying? Because I can't rank him.
That's perfectly fine. So with Mac, were you like a fan of Mac? Did you listen to Mac?
Yeah, I was a fan of Mac Miller. And I even gave Logic a good chance. Like, Logic had me in the beginning for, like, probably his first 2 tapes when I figured him out. You know, like, I spent some time in D.C. and he was kind of big right there. I think he's in front there. I don't even remember. But, like, I don't see his ceiling ever becoming something, like, bigger than even what Mac Miller's was, because Mac Miller's ceiling only even raised once he passed away. I remember when Mac Miller was alive, people weren't huge Mac Miller fans. You know what I'm saying? Mac Miller and Big Sean were kind of at the same time, and Big Sean kind of went way further in fans and even notoriety than Mac Miller did. They were Mac Miller fans, but Mac Miller fans were really Mac Miller fans. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so that's me. Like,
yeah.
So when I guess I'll say that. Like, and obviously that's the point of this. It's Hills, it's your like opinion, like all that. But like, I was way more of a Mac Miller fan than
Logic.
And I gave Logic a chance, and Logic and rap. Like, I think with Mac, it was definitely like the transition that he made in his career, like when he first came out and the content that he had with that to how he improved, but then also his talent as a producer was huge, and like the people he was working with.
Okay, see, I didn't know we were talking like that. I thought we were just talking his rap and his versus Logic, because Logic's not producing, I don't believe, so I wasn't really thinking of like for Logic's or Mac's producing as well.
Yeah, I think Mac is way more talented than Logic. Mac really evolved over his career. Like, I was a fan of him in high school. He was like a backpack, kind of like more comical, and then we saw him mature and he got more into jazz and all that. So I think Mac can do more musically. I think Logic is talented. I've listened to a couple of his projects. I wasn't a fan of his, and I'll just be open. Like, it's definitely an interesting experience for me to actively listen to a white rapper and try to like.
Yeah, but here's the other piece of it. Did you get introduced to Mac because of Wiz? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, is there anybody that Logic has in his corner that's from the community that could co-sign for him? Because technically, if you look him up, Logic is, he's half black, half white, but there's no one from the community that co-signed him, and no one really believes that once you look at him and hear him.
Is he from DC?
I think he's from like Baltimore.
Maryland?
Yeah, he's
Maryland,
from like the
something
DMV,
like
right? Yeah, something like that. But
he's got.
Yeah, you're right. He doesn't have anybody in his corner. He doesn't.
He's got some pretty notable features on his albums. Like, he got a Wu-Tang Clan feature, I'm pretty sure, on one, and like he's definitely worked with.
That's not a notable feature, and I don't believe that.
There's no one who really like proudly, and like he signed to Def Jam, or he was, if I'm not mistaken. But like with Mac, you're right. Like, Mac had Wiz. Mac was on the House Party remix with Meek and like Fab. Pretty sure Mac worked with Big Sean back in the day. Like, Mac had cosigns from the beginning. And
got the elusive J Electronica feature.
Yeah, like, and then he worked with Kendrick and Anderson .Paak. Like, so Mac has kind of always been embraced by the culture. Logic was always someone people kind of made fun of. Like, oh, Logic is just that white rapper dude. So I definitely get why he feels the way he does about the rap community and, wanting to take time off. But I think that's just the unfortunate path that a white rapper takes. Like Jack Harlow, I've been hip to him since 2018. There are people who are just figuring him out or just really giving him a chance because of what's popping, because he got Wayne, DaBaby, and Tory Lanez, or because of his association with Bryson Tiller. But, someone put me onto him years ago and I just listened and he was good. But yeah, I think it's it's funny because white people have privilege in everything else, but
everything else,
you're trying to be a white rapper, it's a very, very unique path. Even if you're talented, people still might not take you seriously and welcome you in.
After Eminem, who's the best white rapper?
Is that who?
After Eminem, who's the best white rapper?
Give me MGK.
If you say MGK, I'm going Lil Dicky, first of all.
Lil Dicky.
Stop playing.
Damn, I don't know.
I'm going Yellow, wasn't it Yellow Wolf?
Oh, geez.
I'll go Mac.
But yeah, you gotta go Mac.
But before we even get on that, I think kind of with Logic, it wasn't just that he's mixed. It was kind of just how people took to his content, and even with like a lot of white rappers. I mean, I think you come in, and if you are one, nice, and two, just like being, I guess, real with like your content, then I think you do have the ability to be accepted. But I mean, there's no reason, theoretically speaking, that, you know, Logic isn't accepted and J. Cole is. Like, they're both mixed. Like, I just think it's content that they put out, and whether people feel like you're of that. And I feel like Logic came out and really tried to play to that bit of like, here's my struggle. Like I don't know. He I don't think he moved like he was ingratiated already within like the Black community, and I think people just felt that and was like, all right, you might be nice, but like you don't feel like you're part of this in that way. So it's definitely like a loaded shit going on there. Dr. Rainey, what are your thoughts?
All right, so I have a few questions, right? Okay. And like, shit's none of my business, right? So, as you say, like Logic and J. Cole are biracial artists, correct? And so, in that mindset, as a Black man, like, do you respect their point of view in totality as Black men, or you believe they're only getting one side of like being, essentially as a Black man, like?
Before we answer this isn't a skit. This is like real deal.
Oh yeah. This is like
he's real deal taking notes.
Yeah.
Oh shit! All right. So let me go first because I'm speaking as the only Halfrican here. So my mom's white, my dad's Black. So
is that a real term?
I kind of made it up, and I think people use it now. So I'm taking credit for that too. By the way, let that be my hill. I created that term. I'm taking it.
Never heard of it.
So for me, I think, like, for me, I accept them as Black men, but I could see how somebody will see J. Cole and identify with him more as being a Black man than when they see Logic and identify with him as being any type of a Black man. Because while I say I accept them both, even for me, I look at Logic and I'm like, is he really like accepted? Like, is he really getting a pass? Is he really going to the cookout? Like, but when you see J. Cole, it's like, you already know what's going on. You already know what's happening. He kind of, physically, he appears to be more so of a Black man than Logic does, and I think while it shouldn't, unfortunately, it does play a role into it.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with the look and how you're exposed to them. Like with Cole, I found out about him in high school. My boys were like, "Yo," like, and we're in high school, so we don't really know what we're talking about. Like, "Yo, I really relate to this guy. Like, he's talking some real shit that we get." And you listen and you feel it, and then you see him and he's this nigga. Like, he just looks like a nigga. So, like, as a nigga, you connect with a nigga. Logic, my introduction to him, and I'm able to see past all the jokes and the slander, but I really found out about him from the jokes and the slander. He's this white rapper. You look at him, and no shade of Logic, but he kind of looks like a dork. And then, you listen to him rap, and he's definitely talented, but he kind of sounds like the white rapper trying to lyrical miracle you. And he's definitely got some content. Like, he talks about some heavy stuff. He's got a song about suicide prevention. And, I think that's major that he used his platform, because you also have to think about it, as a Cole, I don't think he penetrated the mainstream. And by mainstream, like all people who listen to hip hop, not just Black people. He didn't penetrate that maybe till Forest Hills Drive, possibly later. Logic coming in just by his look, those people might have been listening to him regardless. So, like, there's also kind of that, like, with Cole, we kind of felt his climb up to being in the top 3. With Logic, and this is just my experience, but I never really felt any struggle. And then he kind of tried to go like, I'm Black, I'm white, and it felt like an attempt to relate. Some people saw it as an attempt to gain sympathy and gain fans, but the relationship and the listening experience is kind of different. And I just, visually, like, I think that's really where it starts and kind of what deems the strength of how much you can connect with someone. But he's talented. Like, I don't want to take that away, but I'll just never connect to Logic as much as I'll connect to Cole performing in ball shorts and choosing to not show off his riches and still standing for stuff. You know, like I think Cole's used his platform to really connect with the Black community and also advocate for us.
And I mean, I think another thing with that, and I don't know too much about where Logic is from, because I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think both grew up, you know, with their, you know, white parents. But you know, J. Cole coming from Fayetteville, and you know everything that place is versus what I would assume felt maybe a little bit more like a traditional white or like suburbanish upbringing that Logic may have had, and I think that certainly plays a role too. And then you know J. Cole going to college at St. John's, and so I think between those two things, you get a little bit more of a experience that is closer to someone who you know is Black and maybe comes from an inner city. There's a lot more you can relate to than someone that you know maybe grew up on you know the outskirts of DC, you know, type of bit, and maybe around white family, and your interests may be, yeah, obviously in hip hop, but may not skew the same in terms of having a lot in common with, you know, a lot of what we think of as the hip hop audience in terms of that acceptance piece.
All right, so I have a question. So both being biracial artists, correct? Like, do you feel like they try to cling on more to their Blackness because of, I guess, fame or relevance, or because of like it's something like internal with them? Because both were raised by their white parents, the white side, right? So why are they like both like super pro-Black? And if like you may not have the answer to why, but like why do you think?
No, I feel like I have the answer to why. I mean, Black people are the trend. So if we accept you, it's kind of easier for anybody to accept you, and it almost makes it like fashionable for everybody to accept you once Black people accept you because we're the trend, you know. So even with Cardi B, almost she was raised by her Spanish parents, but if you didn't really know Cardi B and maybe you switched her lyrics to somebody who didn't have a little accent, you would just think that she was a Black girl. You know, you couldn't tell that she has any Spanish from like the way she talks or like some of her music sometimes. Sometimes she does go there, but she reaches more for the Black community, you know, because that's the trend. That's who you want to follow you.
So do you think if they were raised by their Black parents, they'd have still done the same thing? Or is it a sense of rebellion against their white parents?
No, I don't want to look at it like that, because then that would almost give me a negative view of that person. I just think that it's the industry. It's the industry almost. You know, that's what the industry knows that. The industry knows what to aim for, but the industry knows what artists they can do that with at the same time. Because some artists who are even from like the trenches of the hood, you know, they still go pop just because they may have a little more of that look that can go there. But some artists, you can reach out to the Black community and make a great impact. And then from there, then you can reach the white community and furthermore.
I do think that's something to hip hop though, and definitely where hip hop has grown into a lot of pop, especially nowadays, where take somebody like Logic and a lot of his fan base, and even what he's been doing now since he's announced his retirement, moving over to Twitch, that I mean, there's always been a lot of diversity in hip hop in terms of audiences. You got your gangsta music, you got your lyrical miracle stuff, you got, you know, your, you know, all the different kind of subgenres. But I think even the fact that he's been able to carve out, you know, the audience that he has, and he's been able to take them to, you know, well, not take them to his platform, but be able to move over to this platform and it fits and he can do his thing. I definitely just think speaks to how hip hop has grown over the years and really molded into not only pop, but a place for, you know, everyone under different sort of Black identities, let's call it that.
That's a good word for it.
All right, so if Black culture weren't as popular as it was, do you think J. Cole or Logic would have been as popular as they are now? such an artist, would they ever want to strive for their blackness at all?
I think so. Because I think something to consider is being raised by your white parent but looking black. Cole probably caught a lot of jokes for that. You know, young, he probably had to really sit and be like, dang, like I look like a nigga, but I got this white mom and people are clowning me for it. Like, but I feel like a nigga. Like I'm around niggas. I hang with niggas. I feel like, and Cole, you know, he's always seemed very genuine to me. Nothing has ever felt forced. Like even the way he goes about his activism, like he's not trying to be this activist that people should follow. I feel like he's just being himself and he's just speaking on how he really thinks, and people follow him and some people sensationalize it. But so I think regardless of how popular Black culture is, and Cole has never really strived to be popular anyways. He's just become it because we really believed in him. With Logic, with him, you know, maybe not. Like it's like I think Ty or Nadir said, we set the trends. There's a lot of pop acts and white acts who are adopting hip hop elements and just stuff from the culture into what they do because they see that it's cool and like they see that it sells. So Logic being raised by a white parent, but also looking white, you know, he definitely didn't deal with the same stuff Cole did. And perhaps even in trying to cling to his Black side, he might have caught jokes for that. And so he kind of reached a point where being interested in rap, you know, he sees like, all right, this started with these people, so I have to get their acceptance, but then I can also gain this large fan base. And this is just me, you know, theorizing. Like, I don't know him. I don't know what his intent was, but I have to think like, and a lot of these white rappers might not have pursued the culture and kind of how they went about it if Black culture wasn't as transcendent as it is. But that's just me guesstimating.
Just call out Paul Wall. I feel like that's where we're going here. Would he have a grill if everybody else didn't?
No, he makes grills.
I think that's what he does now. Like
that's always what he did. No, he always did that. Like that, he was always the one who made the grills.
So,
and he's from the South too, so I don't know.
Yeah,
he's a top 5 white rapper according to Ty too. By the way, just want to put that there.
Actually, I really do fuck with Paul Wall. So like, I won't even.
He's pretty thorough. Like you can't question his thoroughness. I mean, Houston born and raised. Like you can't question it. You know what I'm saying? And they accept him. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to not accept a rapper when their city already is behind them. You know, that's what kind of makes it easier to accept a rapper.
Yo, you know what?
Your city's already behind you. It's easy.
This brings up a kind of good topic, and sorry to take over, Ty, because I know you kind of lead this, but versus battles and white people participating in versus battles. Scott Storch, some people didn't like that he was involved. Scott Storch is a legendary producer. I've said, you know, people have been trying to figure out who, like they wanted CB versus Usher. I think it should be Usher versus Justin Timberlake. Some people are like, we shouldn't invite Justin Timberlake into our spaces. And I'm like, but he's been produced by Timbo. He's worked with, like, Justin Timberlake became what he was because Black producers welcomed him in, saw his talent, and made him that. So
I think it's way too late for people to say we shouldn't invite him. He's been invited.
Yeah, and I don't know that Timberlake though is kind of. I don't view Justin Timberlake like Miley Cyrus, Katy Perry, like, or better put like the way Nadir just said. Like he's somebody who he had his whole NSYNC days and you know coming into his solo career, but so much of his solo career was you know working with Timbo and like doing these very kind of R&B type music. And really, I think we started to look at him like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? When he made that little Tennessee, like, country, whatever fucking album that he made. And that was a bit where like, oh, wait, like, I guess you are white. Like, but versus somebody like a Miley or, again, Katy Perry or a Taylor Swift, where if you need to get hot, like, you need to blow up, you know, you'll go try to get that, you know, that feature or work with that producer. And then once shit is good and gravy, you know, you'll go back to kind of.
I do agree though that you shouldn't bring Justin into it versus a white person, I mean a black person, if you bring Justin into it, it should be like Justin versus Justin, Justin Bieber versus Justin Timberlake, you know. But Chris Brown can't go with anybody. I'm gonna be honest with you. Chris Brown has more hits than anybody. I'm gonna be honest with you.
He's losing Usher.
I can't even say Usher. And
He's losing Usher.
Do his hits on
telling you
Rihanna
right
count?
now,
Oh my God, bro.
Oh Jesus.
Don't do that.
that's deep.
Don't do that.
I was just asking. I had to throw it out.
You gotta remember, like, yes, Chris Brown. I mean, yes, Usher has, you know, hits back in the day, all that. But when Chris Brown started till right now, he's giving you a hit like 2-3 a year. Whether it's a feature, and if it's a feature,
But see,
it's damn near his song.
this is
He
the
definitely
thing.
has a lot more
Especially if it's a
music, but
Hold on, but this is the thing about Verzuz, and I think a lot of people have kind of lost, and then again, not speaking about unity, I think people have lost sight of what Verzuz is for. Like, people always be like, yo, this person versus this person has a bigger catalog. Cool, they have more albums. It's 20 versus 20, and if we're comparing hits, it's not just the numbers, it's also the more impactful hit. So let's say you put out Chris Brown, Run It, and then I put up Yeah by Usher. Which one is winning that? Be honest there.
Okay. Now you put out Yeah by Usher, and then I come back and hit you with fucking Say Goodbye.
And then I hit you with fucking You Got It Bad or Burn. Like,
Okay.
oh, my boo.
This
The
battle.
man made my boo, bro.
Okay.
My way.
Okay.
bro, I promise you, we did the battle already. Me and
Confessions. Come on.
Right?
Okay. Where the fuck is my computer? Because y'all gonna make me get serious here.
Look. I control Chris Brown. I made mistakes. John only beat me 11-9. But like it was tight. But like every time I played a Chris Brown song I was confident in, he would put some Usher. I'm like, fuck. Like he's got like 10 records that like you can't beat Usher. He's got 10 that you just cannot beat. Like you got.
I do need to put respect on it. I'm being disrespectful anyway because I know the impact that his music did have on the city. So yeah, I'm being disrespectful.
The thing about Verzuz too is that when you get Chris Brown in terms of like, yeah, he's been in the game for, 10 plus, but with a lot of like you saw with like Snoop and DMX or, even just like other people maybe not as revered, when you hear songs that you maybe hadn't heard in X amount of years or whatever, it hits different. So like, yeah, Chris Brown is certainly contemporary and he's now, but like if you hear, a Usher song from like 01 and this like, you haven't heard this shit in that long, you're like, oh shit, I forgot. Like, and I think that's a big part of what Verzuz is about. It's like, oh shit, I forgot like how this hit, or, I was in 7th grade when this came out, or I was in, 11th grade going to the mall and shit like that when this song came out. So like, I think there's that effect that it has too on, on people.
That's why I'm trying to tell people like people have been saying, yo, let's do like Black versus Brent Faiyaz. I'm like, Black's been active for like 4 years. Brent Faiyaz has been active for 4 years. They don't have 10 hits yet. Like they might have 20 songs you could go with, but like the dope part about these older verses, like when Babyface and Teddy Riley came, is they got so much. It's like so much stuff and so much time built up. And then even after they retired, we've sat with their music for another 10, 15, 20, however many years. So like that nostalgia plays into it. But I'm looking forward to the Brandy Monica. Who y'all think taking that?
Monica.
Give me Brandy. Who's playing The Boy Is Mine is a real question. Who gets that off?
It's got to be Monica. It's Monica. I feel like Monica even has more time taking music serious than Brandy does. So even that alone is. But like you said, though, I do agree with you. Like, it is the more impactful song. So it's the one that really brings back a memory. It's the one that really like opens up that good thinking process to a song like that. I know what type of song you're talking about. Like,
yeah.
I still to this day, like, I hear Pretty Ricky.
Bro.
That's why I lost my virginity. That's why I lost my virginity too. I ain't gonna lie.
Brian,
The first Playhouse album, bro, the blue and black one.
bro.
It was on an Xbox 360 in the living room. I was on the floor. The whole the whole thing was planned, but we know it only lasted like the Playhouse.
I feel like we're all agreeing too much. Well, we got to get into the sports so we can.
Yes, please.
Let's get to it.
So these basketball takes. I'm sorry, JR, for the Sixers. My Blazers are going to be right there. Dame is out, so it was a fun run, but let's just join everybody. Watching on the couch. Watch the playoffs.
Good gentlemen, though. Good fight too, y'all. That is the biggest win of game one that I've ever seen. Like, I've never seen somebody win game one and their whole playoff career is just projected by everybody from there. Like, from there, they just knew that, like, the Lakers didn't have anything and they were going to lose to them. And then the Clippers were losing at the same time. So, like, now they're going to have to face this team. And I'm like, just from one game, the Trailblazers y'all are about to put them in the finals. But
that's the thing, though. Like people been trying to count the Lakers out like this whole season, and it was like even after the Lakers got the 1 seed, like locked it up, and then didn't take the bubble seriously. Clearly weren't taking the bubble seriously. Everyone's like, oh, the Lakers are clipped, and LeBron loses a lot of game ones. Like LeBron drops a lot of game ones. He always has to adjust, and then he comes back like a demon. So. It was like this whole Blazers phenomenon. I really felt like it got hot ever since they knocked Russell and PG out last year. And because Dame, I've loved Dame his whole career. I've thought Dame was amazing his whole career. And he's definitely risen to become elite. But I'm like, yo, Dame has been amazing. Like, I feel like y'all weren't watching Dame. Dame has been doing stuff like this. Like, I feel like he's just in headlines more. He's more visible. He stole Paul George's soul. But it was like 2012, 2013 when he hit that shot against the Rockets. It's like, yo, Dame been doing this. Like, why are y'all just getting on the Dame train? And then people try to say he's the best. And it's like, hold on, are y'all forgetting Steph? Like 2015 Steph, 2016 Steph? Like, come on, man. Come on.
That's a unanimous MVP.
Like, all right, so let me put my cape on, my Blazers fan cape. The Warriors have a better team. I think the problem with the Blazers right now is just the team and the way the team is constructed. Like, we have in a era where you can literally go through every team right now and look at their roster. They're either centered around a either small forward or like a bigger 6'8" type 2 guard. Or they have like a big man who can, kind of shoot in addition to just being massive. We don't have that. Like, we have even the Warriors. I mean, you have Steph, but then you have your 2 guard is a 6'7", 3-and-D Klay Thompson. Like, and then you have Draymond, who's a Swiss Army knife. And I mean, for the past couple of years, you've had KD, who was just like, that's a cheat code. So we have 2 6'2" guards as our backcourt. We have a really good center, but he's been hurt. And I mean, we just got Melo. And even though he's, maybe on like the back end of his career, the one thing I've been saying a lot is like, imagine if he came to the Blazers from the Knicks, like where he didn't have those past couple of years of being in OKC and Houston and just kind of like floundering. Maybe we get a little bit more production out of him, and he's certainly showed up in these playoffs. But Neil O'Shea has a lot to, do in terms of trying to make that team have a little bit more of a ceiling. Because if you're just gonna want Dame to go off for 60, CJ to go off for 30, Nurk to go off for 30, that's not gonna happen every game.
Yeah. Nah,
I'll be honest with you.
Go ahead.
I'll be honest with you. I really believe that like it's about time. Like a lot of good teams, it just wasn't their time. Like a lot of good. To be honest with you, LeBron's not on the West, and the bubble still happens. Let's just say Portland makes like a 4 seed. Portland can get somewhere. Like even with Portland's probably like taken more serious than even Houston. But it's just time. You know what I'm saying? It's just not their time. Like sad to say, and it's like it could be their time if that man just won't over there. Like, but when that man
let's
go
just
over
make sure
there,
we all agree though that Curry is better than Lillard.
He is.
I don't want to get too
Yeah.
far from that.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
But like that's okay. Like it's not bad for Dame to be number 2. Like people act
Yeah.
like number
It's
2.
time. It's just like Nadir said, it's time. I mean, right now we're still in the time of Steph Curry. I mean, literally for everyone who is not a Blazers fan, I mean, your introduction to Dame has probably been within these past 2 years. Like, you haven't seen all the stuff that he's done. And as someone who's watched him, a lot of what you're seeing has been improvements in his game, you know, over the years. And so, I mean, he's still young, like, and it's fine that this is still, you know, Curry's thing, but I do think people are getting to see it. And I said this in the group chat of just like the different styles. Like, Steph Curry is in a situation that is like, I've never seen this in basketball where a style just fits you so fucking perfectly. Like, everything about that team is suited to his game to allow him to go off, where if he had been on a Blazers team and it's not that type of scenario, yes, he can still go off and get his points, but he's probably in the exact same situation Dame is in. It's not that he's going to go over to the Blazers and do Golden State Warriors Steph Curry shit. It's that the Golden State Warriors run this system that, like, just does this perfectly to a T that you've never seen before, and this is how it pans out. And so, sure, for you know, dotting the I's and crossing the T's, yes, Steph Curry is here, and, you know, Dame isn't there yet.
No, it's interesting discussing that Warriors team because they are such a powerhouse, and Steph was so hot 2015, 2016. And, you know, it's like they got a great coach, that they have the game plan set up perfectly for that team. So, well, and some people will say that, and people interpret it as you trying to, like, devalue Steph as a player. And it's like, nah, Steph is good. But you do have to acknowledge, like, Steph led the league in steals one season. And Steph isn't acknowledged as a lockup defender. Like, he can defend. It's when he wants to put effort into it. But he was able to do that because that Warriors defense with Iguodala, Draymond, of course, Clay, like it was kind of set up so well that he was able to flourish in that way. And the same way with his shooting, because they have such great shooters around him and then good passers. So it's like, is it the system making Steph better? Is Steph making the system better? Is Steph that great individual where if he goes to someone like the Blazers or the Nets without KD, like, would he be doing the same stuff? And it's interesting. It's a really interesting hypothetical conversation to have. Because everyone thinks Dame, if he went to the Lakers or if he went to the Warriors, like, he would be able to do the same stuff that Steph is doing. And it's like, well, is that true? Well, would that be the case?
I don't think he's better at it than Steph is. And that's kind of, to me, the simple fact. I think Dame is really good at that long range game, and he's really good at that, you know, scoring. He's really good at it. He's probably third in my point guards of scoring. Honestly, after this bubble, I'll even put him at third. I'll put him over Russ. But he's not better than Steph is at it. He doesn't even do it as consistently as Steph does it. Like I said, when people talk any type of Steph slander, that's a first-time unanimous MVP. And as much as I think LeBron should have had, you know, a lot of MVPs, he's never been unanimous.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's never just said, we can't argue about this, it's him. You know, literally.
But
for 2 years, this man controlled us. He controlled every channel.
I forget who the lady was who said, like, who came out this year and said like she ignored the stats with the voting and she went with like
Rachel Nichols, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like hearing that and also knowing that, you know, LeBron was I definitely felt like the NBA was trying to make him the face of the league, and he's been the face of the league. But you felt that Steph that it almost felt like they were trying to move Steph into that role in like 2015, 2016. And so knowing that narratives like really empower the voting, I feel like I agree. LeBron deserved it. Like a lot of those years he didn't get it. And hearing that narratives empower the voting, it's like, all right, like people were just not trying to give LeBron that throne. Cause you know, he was the villain. They was treating him like Randy Orton when Randy Orton was beating up John Cena's dad back in the day. Like they was treating him like he was the worst guy ever.
I think even still they treat him bad. Cause I feel like he left the East, and people always said, "Oh well, you know, you can't go to the West and do it, and it's so easy in the East." And You know, Giannis never was contended for this position. Like, never was up here and even thinking about, like, being the number 1 seed, the best contender in the East. But now he is when LeBron leaves, and, like, it's all hell. Giannis, let's give him Defensive Player of the Year. Let's give him MVP. Let's give him –
I hate
damn.
it. I hate it.
So
Like,
what do
I
we
wasn't
think?
just over here doing this for 10 years. Like,
I hate it.
What do we think happens if? So I mean, I know, kind of like we said before, like if there was all the stuff saying, oh, if the Lakers lose in the first round, you know, forget the GOAT conversations. But
hater talk.
if the Lakers don't pull it off, like for you all, is he taken out of your GOAT shit? 'Cause I'll just start first. I don't like that. Like, I just think there's so much more to not only his legacy in general, but just basketball and the team. And like, yeah, they'll beat us, no problem. And, you know, they'll probably get to the Western Conference Finals easily. But like, I don't know that when I look at that team, I see a championship team right now. And I don't know that, to me, I think that should like be like, all right, oh, well, he didn't get there. So like, he's not X, Y, and Z. I don't think it's just that simple, like, of a thing. But what do you all think?
I think I think this Lakers team can do it. I mean, LeBron has willed some crazy rosters to the finals before. And even if you get those Cavs rosters outside of the big three, the Miami roster outside the big three, like those weren't the best rosters either. But like LeBron is capable. If he loses another finals, it's definitely going to hurt him. If he doesn't make it to the finals, then that's something we're going to talk about. Like for me, it has to do with him making the finals and like what happens. Like if he loses, it hurts, but it's still like this is now the 3rd team he's taken to the NBA finals. So that's something that you have to give him credit for. So like, you know, he kind of takes a loss, but then you also have to boost him up. As far as the GOAT thing goes, it's not just the accolades and the finals record for me. It's also about you have to watch this guy on the court. Jordan,
off the court too.
off the court too. Jordan was a killer. Jordan was a mid-range assassin. Jordan is a guy who you could rely on. LeBron has had moments in his career where it's been like, do we give the last shot to him, blah, blah, blah. But you look at the passes he makes, you look at like the triple-doubles he puts up look effortless. And that's the type of stuff that I watch. So if we're talking just basketball playing ability and overall, LeBron is always going to be the greatest player. If we're talking accolades and all that, then that's kind of where Jordan is up there for me. So I'm definitely watching. I have some concerns about the Lakers, but they got the 1 seed for a reason. So, yeah, we'll see.
See, for me, like you said, I agree with that 1,001%. And I tell people that all the time. Like, and it's kind of easy for me to look at basketball and not be biased, especially earlier in my life, because I didn't really have like a for sure team because, you know, I was born in New Jersey, but then I moved to Atlanta. Like, I didn't really know Atlanta for real. I knew I loved Jason Kidd, though. But so I didn't really pick a team. I kind of just watched basketball because that's what I like. So, like, I was really unbiased and open to it until I kind of adopted the Atlanta team. But LeBron isn't just something that he's not something you just, I don't know. It's strange to me sometimes. I can't even think about it when I compare him to Jordan because Jordan is what you say he is. He's an assassin. He's a straight killer. But LeBron might come out here and really give you 18 assists. And all 18 of them, they're to somebody who's like really open in their shooting pocket, perfect pass. It's for you. Jordan's not doing that. You know, Jordan's not carrying that team to that point. You know, Jordan didn't make it out the playoffs until Scottie got there. LeBron been going there all the time by himself. That's all I'm gonna say.
Go ahead, JR.
Right. So there's essentially 3 questions, right? So one is, there's this guy named Dr. Cartwright, Daniel Dr. Cartwright. In the slavery times, he coined this term drapetomania. And essentially it is when a slave wants to be free, it's a disease, correct? And so that's when they started to pin dark skin versus light skin, right? And so there was a time when LeBron was like the guy, no matter who you say or ask was he the best player? Absolutely. And then Steph Curry went on this huge fucking tear, like hitting threes, he was fancy or whatever, essentially that was. And they tried to make Steph Curry the face of the NBA, essentially. Do you think it's because of what he looked like and his complexion, or was it totally based on his gameplay?
Wow.
Uh,
I do think Steph is easier to look at and accept than LeBron, and I believe even with Steph being a little more public with his family, than LeBron is. LeBron now is because Bronny's kind of, popular on social media, but Aisha was very like front running about like her family and, letting people into the house. Savannah wasn't like that. So that kind of made them even look like and Curry's kind of an NBA name already through Dale. Like it could be that. And I could see that from that question. Like with that question, I could come up with that in my head.
However, I think that the fact that Jordan and LeBron, who are both of a darker complexion than Curry, who both didn't have the same things growing up as Steph, the fact that they were able to become the face of the league and they were able to be the ones that were getting pushed into the limelight kind of takes away from any idea that maybe Steph is being put in this spot just because he is lighter skinned. I think the other thing you have to take into account is that he literally changed the way kids play basketball. If you go to a court right now and you watch people play, the first thing they do, when I was growing up, the first thing you did, you go over to the block, you shoot some shots right off the board, try to get a rhythm out to the free throw line, out to the three. First thing you see now is kids doing threes and half-court shots. And that's all Steph Curry influenced. This is a man that was able to get people to buy Under Armour sneakers. This is a man that got people to watch Davidson College play basketball. There's no reason anybody should be watching the Southern Conference play basketball. And he was able to get that done. And is he a little easier on the eyes, if that's the way we want to call it? Sure, if that's what you want to call it. I'm sure for people in like Iowa, they see him, they're like, oh, look at this kid. It's probably a little easier for them to like accept him and whatnot. But in the grand scheme of the NBA fans and everyone else, I think it's just the impact that he had on the game. He literally changed the way people play basketball. Like kids want to shoot threes more than ever now. He was the first guy with 400 threes made in a season before anyone else even made 300. So like just the numbers that go behind his shooting and what he's been able to do, I think those lend credence to the idea that the NBA was pushing him because of that more so than what he looked like. Did it hurt that his mom was hot and his dad was in the NBA? Absolutely not. That definitely didn't hurt him. But I don't know how much that, propelled him to where he got to.
This is, I will say, little plug, shout out to Steven, his article on Pat Mahomes and Steph Curry, and he was kind of talking about in that article just how they are perceived throughout, their respective leagues. And I definitely agree with Tan Mamba here about him being kind of this face or this person that's being pushed, certainly due to his game. But I definitely think the bit that you can speak to in terms of, maybe like a colorism bit or just like an upbringing bit, or even just how you are being in that limelight certainly can be shown in terms of the way I think a lot of basketball players view him that are not, Golden State Warrior teammates, especially that kind of old guard of people who have mostly come from, inner cities, gritty. Maybe a lot of them are darker complexion, looking at a kid who's light skinned, light eyes, grew up in a basketball family, and, has a game that is very driveway versus like in the street, hard fouls type shit.
And I don't want you guys to not know this. Steven Jamina said on our text, this man said, I'm assuming with a straight face, essentially, I'm paraphrasing here, that it was just as difficult for Steph Curry to make it to the NBA from Davidson as it was for Pat Mahomes to make it to the NFL from Texas Tech, which I think is one of the dumbest things anybody ever said. Because it's so much harder to go to the NBA from Davidson than it is for somebody from Texas Tech to go to the NFL. When you go to Texas Tech, you're thinking like, hey, I got a chance. This is high D1 football. I got a chance to make the league. When you go to Davidson, when you go to Davidson to the Southern Conference and you're going to play against Elon, there's no way you're thinking you're going to make the NBA.
For real. JR, what's your next question?
So in a sense, you said that Steph Curry essentially changed the way people play the game, like 3-pointers, regardless of that. Reggie Miller also was there before that. So was Ray Allen. Oscar Robertson got a lot of rebounds. Shaq was a huge diesel in the paint. Vince Carter was a dunking maniac. All of these people could essentially change the game forever. Do you think it's because of his colorism that now everyone wants to shoot? It feels more popular. It feels more, essentially.
No, to
think
cut you off,
shooting-
sorry.
Oh,
I think it's
Go ahead.
easier to shoot a 3-pointer than it is to dunk the ball. So I think that's
Right.
half the problem. It's
Yeah.
if you're not a big man, you can't be a big man in the post like Shaq. If you don't have crazy athleticism, you're not honey dipping the basketball. But anybody can go out and shoot a 3-pointer. Anybody can be a shooter. That's the joke about when you see white people at the court. Immediately, what do you know about them? They could shoot the 3-pointer.
Jimmy
Immediately,
West.
you already know it.
Yeah, I don't. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say I don't really think it's a color thing either. I think it made the game more accessible to a lot of people. You know, and when I used to go out to the court, I've always been a shooter. I've always tried to be a shooter. I'm not gonna say I'm nice, but I've always tried to be that. So the guys who are more athletic, who could kind of drive into shit, it was like, fuck, man, they're very hard to defend, and that's not really stuff that I was good at. And so I think that Steph doing that, being the leader of the Warriors at that time, and them winning a ring that year, like a lot of good things just kind of happened and made it. Because I can't really think back to any teams that won the championship and like 3-point shooting was their like number one primary thing, and like their top guy was like known as the best shooter in the league, made 400. So I think it was really just how visible and how dominant that gameplay was, where it was like now the Rockets are loading up on 3-point shooters and only shooting threes, and a lot of teams are looking to pick up 3-and-D guys. Like now you can't really just be like, there are guys who just lock up, but they're gonna take a guy who can shoot and lock up over someone who can just lock up any day. And like also it's making big men step out and shoot as well. Now we see players like Karl Anthony Towns who you'll rely on at the 3-point line, and he's also an interior stopper. So yeah, it might have played a part. Like, 'cause Steph's story is also like a feel-good story. He grew up in the NBA. He really embraced showing his family. His wife had a cooking show. His daughter was talking on the microphone. Like, they made memes out of his daughter. So like with Steph, just a lot of good things happened for him at the same time, and he really played it well. And people were just like, all right, well, we got to start shooting from half court now too.
So
Yeah, I agree. And I think just one last thing on the 3-point thing. If we look at how he revolutionized the game, if you think back in the day, like one of the premier 3-point shooters of his time, Larry Bird, that man shot 2 3-pointers a game. He attempted 2 a game. And we look at him and we're like, he was like the bastion of hope for the 3-pointer back in the day. And people are, Larry Legend, he could really shoot the long ball. But then you look at his stats, he averaged 1.9 attempts a game. You got the Houston Rockets the other day. I think they shot 58 threes in the game. I think they shot more threes than they did twos. So it's just, and that really does have a lot to do with Curry, because there's always been the saying, you live by the 3, you die by the 3. If you're making all these threes, you're going to win. You're not making them, then the game's over. But the Warriors and Curry changed that.
Yeah, I think the analytics thing certainly has a lot to do with it too, where, I don't know the math on my head, but like a 3-pointer is 1 point something times more than, just like a regular, 2-point shot.
I'm going to say it's 1.5, Ty.
Yeah, I was going to say 1.6, but yeah, 1.5, 1.6, something like that. All right. Thank you guys for this. I think as you all see, these things certainly start off the rails in terms of just crazy takes, but then we definitely land into, really good conversations about shit. So thank you, JR, Nadir, Tan Mamba, Armand, for joining me here on the second episode of All the Hills. Stay tuned the next time. When, I don't know. You just stay around your phone when I tell you that I'm putting it out, and go listen. Till next time, check out what you expect. Content we got. Subscribe to the YouTube. Subscribe to the newsletter. Peace.
Be safe, fellas.
Giannis sucks.